Hello and welcome to National Focus. I am Aliyah Martin. In the headlines, Prime Minister Skerrit tells regional representatives attending this week's Agri-Investment Forum and Expo in Guyana that Dominican farmers are poised to meet all their fresh produce needs. Disney Cruises is expected to make an inaugural call to Dominica for the 2022-2023 cruise season. And Minister for Renewable Energy, Honorable Dr. Vince Henderson, optimistic about prospects for geothermal energy plant in Loda in 2 years' time. The details of the headline stories and more when we return.
2022 is census year. Be ready to give your full participation.
Census? What is that, Granny?
That is when all the people in the country are counted and other information collected so that we can have information about us.
Well, Granny, you better make sure you take part.
2022 is census year. Be ready to give your full participation.
For more information, please contact the Central Statistics Office of Dominica or follow us on Facebook.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has delivered remarks at the opening ceremony of the inaugural Agri-Investment Forum and Expo in Guyana. His remarks were delivered under the topic Transport and Marketing Integration in efforts to stress on the relevance of the region's support to each other where food production is concerned. Prime Minister Skerrit pledged his full support to the initiative led by the President of Guyana, His Excellency Dr. Irfaan Ali.
I think we need to itemize the actions we need to take and take them. And take them. Because if we're to allow CARICOM or people to, or ordinary folks to feel that they're part of an integration process, farmers and fisher folk, they must be able to benefit from that process. And the reality is, in my country, we can supply the region with a wide variety of crops at affordable prices and to safeguard the health of the region. And this all of this extra regional agricultural produce with also chemicals in it, causing a lot of health problems we have in the region today. CNC, diet. We're scared of COVID-19. We should be really scared in the Caribbean of diabetes and hypertension.
The forum focuses on issues linked to investment in agriculture and food production, including cross-border investment, climate-smart agriculture, and related infrastructure development. Prime Minister Skerrit brought to Guyana a plea on behalf of the farmers of Dominica in regards to access to farm labor.
But we're sending farm workers to Canada every year. And so we're helping the agriculture, we're helping the economy, but within our region we cannot help each other by allowing farm workers to move freely within our region. And so I'm really here to speak on behalf of the farmers. I'm a farmer myself. I am completely self-sufficient. I eat fruits every day, and every one of them come from my farm, grown by me. And so I speak here, my Prime Minister, St. Vincent's there, and St. Lucia, and Grenada, and Windward Island. We have the capacity to supply a significant amount of food to the region. And we need to work together. We need to allow our produce to come in freely on unfettered manner, and allow the ordinary folks within the Caribbean to feel, for the first time, the true benefits of the integration. We have made a lot of good things happen within CARICOM. But the ordinary folks.
The Prime Minister went on to speak of the importance of sustaining the economy within the region. He says the region is well capable of supplying each other while easing the access of the export value amongst themselves.
The farmers, the fishermen, this would help our economy so dramatically. And this is why I'm here President Ali in Guyana to register Dominica's firm support for this initiative. And if we miss this opportunity, as we did with the JAGRI initiative, and JAGRI worked on this diligently for many years, and we failed to take the action. This has been precipitated, this current program has been precipitated by the challenges brought on by COVID-19 and the supply of food.
Food security continues to be a major priority for government. Prime Minister Skerrit called on other regional leaders to take advantage of the opportunity presented at the forum.
I am very concerned about the future where food security is concerned if we do not concretize the recommendations in this 25 by 2025 and beyond initiative. And we as current leaders, I believe there is the political will to allow it to happen. The private sector must come on board and not display, a rush to profits and believing that you can get cheaper produce from outside in larger quantities and you flood the markets. No, let us allow everybody to survive within our Caribbean space.
The forum is held under the theme Investing in Vision 25 by 2025 and will end on May 21, 2022. The meeting is timely for Dominica as government intensifies efforts locally to build stronger value chain relationships, promote food security, and achieve sustainable growth in the agriculture sector. Prime Minister Skerrit is accompanied by Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Fidel Grant, Minister for Trade, Honorable Ian Douglas, and two local farmers, Mr. Hilary Shillingford and Mr. Dels Warrington. The 2021-2022 cruise season drew its curtains closed earlier this month. May 2nd marked the end of the cruise season with a final call from MV Celebrity Equinox of Celebrity Cruises. Though the COVID-19 pandemic has been a challenge during this period, Dominica welcomed 215 cruise calls. Chief Executive Officer of Discover Dominica Authority, Mr. Colin Piper, says the season brought visitors to some of Dominica's major cruise sites, which is a plus for the island. These cruise passengers have boarded the ship to explore what the country had to offer.
What that means, obviously, is that the local stakeholders are able to make a living, especially with people going on tours. That means the taxi drivers, the tour guides, and in certain instances when they come back and visit the shopping zone, that the vendors are able to make something. So we're pleased about that in terms of 21-22 and looking forward to 22-23.
Sufficient training of tourism stakeholders during the COVID-19 pandemic was necessary to ensure safety protocols were maintained while Dominica continued its effort to revitalize the tourism sector.
The cruise stakeholders always work with DDA, they always work with DASPA, they work with the Ministry of Tourism. They understand the cruise business, and they understand that even before COVID, it was one of protocols, making sure we dotted I's and crossed T's, making sure that certification was in place and these sorts of things. So they have always worked with us, and we anticipate that they will continue to work with us. In the previous season, it was about making sure that health protocols were in place, making sure that they had the right training. Over the summer months, we will look at training again from a customer service perspective, and we will look at training in other areas that probably need to be enhanced. But we anticipate the full cooperation of the vendors, the taxi drivers, the tour operators to ensure that the cruise season is a successful one.
Mr. Piper hopes to see an increase of cruise calls to the island for the 2022-2023 cruise season.
What's important to note is that for 21-22, the vessels would have been coming at about 50-60% capacity because of the COVID protocols and whatnot. And in 22-23, now we expect that there would be more passengers. So we're looking forward to an increase in cruise passengers coming to Dominica even so there will be a significant benefit to the stakeholders even if the cruise calls do not increase. But we are anticipating that we will see a slight increase in the cruise calls. Everything is still tentative at this point in time, but we are optimistic.
One of the most anticipated calls, the Disney Cruise Call, is expected to make an inaugural call to Dominica for the 2022-2023 cruise season.
As it relates to inaugurals, the one that people are most excited about, because I believe it's one of the few lines that has not come to Dominica yet, is Disney. And right now we have a call tentatively scheduled for sometime in July. So we will give you more details as all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. So kudos to the Minister for Tourism, the Ministry of Tourism, and the CEO of DASPA for having such discussions and getting that done. It's been a long time in the making, and let's hope that finally in July of 2022 it will come to pass.
Government will continue to up its efforts in order to promote Dominica as a desirable cruise destination to cruise calls to the island. The people traversing through the west of Dominica will soon benefit from an improved road network. An area in Massac will see an upgrading culvert after many attempts to resurface the area. The Ministry of Public Works has announced the closure of the road for the weekend of the 21st to the 22nd of May until further notice. A bypass was created beginning from the Massac Multipurpose Indoor Facility and will continue along the bayside. The temporary road will facilitate travelers to get to and from the area. The bypass measures near 800 feet in length. Chief Technical Officer in the Ministry of Public Works and the Digital Economy, Mr. Emil Lancelot, provided more details on that project.
We have to remove the old culvert that requires us to cut across the entire width of the road. As a result of that, to accommodate traffic during this operation, we have had to also create a temporary bypass along the coast of Massac. And so we have, in the last couple of weeks, focused on preparing that temporary bypass. And it's essentially completed now. So on this weekend, we'll actively be carrying out the repair or the rehabilitation of the culvert.
Acting Senior Engineer in the Ministry of Public Works, Mr. Larry Alcender, also spoke of the works done on the bypass.
We had to widen a crossing there by about 12 feet. Then in the center of the bypass, we had to construct a new culvert crossing, 30 feet long by 3 feet by 3 feet. That's a box culvert. Then we built approximately 200 feet of rigid pavement, 6 inches thick, reinforced with BRC. And we have about 600 feet that we gave about 8 inches tarish base. The contractor we engaged to do the works is Offshore Civil and Marine. They basically engage approximately between 12 to 16 persons there, including an excavator, backhoe, heavy-duty trucks, and 1 or 2 tipper trucks. And the project basically took about 2 weeks to complete the bypass.
Mr. Alcender says the new culvert crossing will also be 18 feet deep, but we also see an upgrade in the width measurement. He explains the thought process behind the measurement.
We projecting that it may take at least 2 days to install because they had the culverts prefabricated already. It will be 3 feet wide by 18 inches deep. Now I know you may think 18 inches deep is not deep enough, but the issue we have there, we have a Dowasco water line running just at that depth, also flow fiber optic cable. So that is the reason why instead of going deeper, we had to go wider, 3 feet to 18 inches diameter. Anyways, 18 inches culverts that are there anyway, so therefore the capacity we're creating is even more than what originally existed. So it might take about hopefully a week to get fully completed because after we install the culverts, we have to backfill, we have to compact it, give it a little time to settle, and then to resurface it with asphalt.
The Ministry of Public Works urges the public to cooperate during this time and ensure road safety remains a priority. The necessary signage will be put in place to divert road users to the bypass. You're watching National Focus. More when we return.
2022 is census year. Be ready to give your full participation.
I happy I was there to take part in the Tula census, is we? They have come a long way in how they collecting data. I even see they're using tablets now. That is something else, we? This is really the technology age.
Kisaudila, say that again.
Don't worry, Taro. When your time come, we'll answer on your behalf.
2022 is census year. Be ready to give your full participation.
For more information, please contact the Central Statistics Office of Dominica or follow us on Facebook.
Welcome back. In this edition of In-Depth, Minister responsible for renewable energy, Honorable Dr. Vince Henderson, says it will take at least 18 months for completion of a 10-megawatt geothermal power plant in Loda. Julian Morris has more.
The minister, accompanied by a delegation of engineers and other government officials, completed a site visit to the first of two well pads on Wednesday, 18th May 2022. Preparation of the site alone will take several months.
We would say in another 2 years, that will take us somewhere around mid-2024. We're looking forward to getting the power onto the Domlec grid, which we will also be improving. The government of Dominica, since our acquisition of Domlec, we have accelerated our efforts at the construction of new transmission lines, which will start here in Loda, take us to Focoli, and from Focoli all the way to Sugarloaf in Portsmouth. That is a significant investment that the government is undertaking. The process is being led by Mr. Fred John of the DGDC, and a number of consultants have already been contracted. They've been on site. They are working in developing the actual transmission routes and all the other amenities that will be required in order to support new transmission lines. So it is going to take some time, but the good thing is that it will transform the energy landscape, and we will no longer have to worry about fuel surcharge. We will no longer have to worry about the impact of the cost of fuel because of a war or because of shortage of supply or whatever the case may be.
Minister Henderson says this is an important investment that Dominica is making in renewable energy right now. He says it may take some time, but it will be worth it. Minister Henderson has reassured the nation that the geothermal project has been well thought out and measures have been taken to ensure that the environment is not compromised in the process.
You listen to Mr. LeBlanc, and he explained to you why it is that he's constructing this facility on the side there on the left, and on the right another facility to ensure that we do not release anything into the environment that shouldn't be there. So that is part of what we're doing for this process, for the drilling process. So we will be managing that process very carefully. But what is even more important is that we will be drilling another well about 1 kilometer from here. And that well is a reinjection well. So all the stuff that will be coming from the process will go back into the well so that we won't be sending anything out. The only thing you'll be getting out is really steam, so water, and some minor particles that will not cause any damage to the environment. So we will be doing that. We also will be constructing a power plant, which is the technology that protects the environment the most. It's what they call a binary system. So that the same concept, nothing goes out that shouldn't go out. It will be re-injected, goes through the process again, and then so it's a closed system. So we will be protecting the environment. I mean, obviously this is better than producing, diesel power.
Henderson says this geothermal project is a bit expensive because the best technology in the world is being utilized to ensure that the environment is protected. The minister says with $2 million worth of supplies procured, there is no expected shortage, but the cost of the project is likely to rise.
It's a significant investment we made very early. So we won't be waiting for those supplies in order to do the work that needs to be done here, for the drilling at least. So we have not been affected by that because we move ahead, and it was before a lot of the problems in the world, got worse, like the war in Ukraine. So what we have been able to do is to order those long lead items, things that take time to manufacture, time to secure, time to ship, so that they're already on site. So once the drilling company is prepared to drill, they get here, they already have what they require on site. So we'll not be affected by that. What we anticipate is that the actual cost of the project may be affected because of the price of shipping, the price of fuel, getting stuff into Dominica, logistics challenges and all of the stuff. The price of steel, for example, the components that are required to construct the plant. So we're hoping that we will not be hit too hard, and that's why we are also accelerating our efforts to ensure that we don't have any undue delays that could cause us to suffer even greater impact from the inflation and the cost of doing business generally.
The initial investment made in the well pad at Loda has been done strategically so as to make provision for any future wells or expansion which may be required.
The government has built this entire well pad with the future in mind as well. So we will not have to bring ACE Engineering back here for the next well that's coming, because we have set up the infrastructure ready. So we will be able to expand this plant, the power plant, several times because the infrastructure is here already. So I think that's important for the public to understand in terms of why we're doing this and the level of effort that's going into it.
Honorable Vince Henderson says everything is being done to ensure the environment is protected.
We are doing everything that we know we need to do to ensure that we protect the environment, but also because of the requirements of our development partners, the World Bank, the government of the United Kingdom, who are basically providing the funding for this project in part. The drilling will be done with grant funding from the UK and from SIDSDOT, and some of the support that we're getting from the World Bank. So we had to meet those stringent environmental requirements by preparing, first of all, the environmental and social impact assessment. Out of that, we have to have a plan to protect the environment, to ensure that there's active monitoring, to ensure that anything that needs to be corrected is responded to urgently. So it's not only for the physical environment, but for the social environment, for the people who live within the valley, and especially in Loda, so that we protect their own livelihoods. And I'm happy that ACE Engineering is also in its method of works executing this project. They are doing things that will minimize interruption, minimize inconveniences to the resident of the area. All of these are part of what we signed up for with the World Bank. And so much so, we had to publish our ESIA, the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment, for 120 days to allow people to comment. So if somebody has a concern, they had the chance to raise that concern, and then we had to respond to it under the guidance of the World Bank. We're using the IFC standards, the International Financial Corporation of the World Bank Group, which is the most stringent standards that you can get anywhere, and we have to ensure that everything is done here is done in a manner that will not cause any negative impact on the physical and social environment, and that is very important to us.
The geothermal development project is expected to boost Dominica's image as the nature island of the world.
Once you start producing power from clean energy, geothermal power, and you're minimizing the greenhouse gas emissions, it means that you're well on your way to becoming, to fully, not just nature island of the Caribbean, but of the world, and building resilience in the process, because you see what is going on here. The power plant itself will be built in a manner that will be very resilient. It will not be damaged. It could withstand, a serious hurricane, and it will be built in such a way that we can also respond very quickly if we have any damage. The transmission lines are also part of the resilience building. They will be built as resilient as possible based on the advice that we've received from some consultants after the passage of Hurricane Maria. And all of this will be done in a manner that will help us to build or to achieve our goal as the first climate resilient nation in the world.
For GIS National Focus, Julian Morris reporting.
Thanks, Julian, for that report. The St. Luke's Primary School has secured their second win at the 12th edition of the Primary School's Creole Spelling Bee. Lamar Sabroch represented St. Luke's in this year's Spelling Bee. The Creole Spelling Bee is an initiative adopted by the Comité Poétique Creole, CEC, to introduce students to the Creole language. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training and National Excellence, Mrs. Chandler Hyacinth, says the ministry will continue to work with CEC to develop the Creole language as part of the ministry's mission to teach Creole in all schools.
The Ministry of Education supports wholeheartedly the promotion of the Creole language in our schools. And we use every opportunity, we embrace every opportunity that is available to us to encourage the promotion of our cultural heritage, not just the language. And we have done a lot of work with CAC in terms of preparing the curriculum, preparing our guides, preparing what it is that we need to use in our schools to support instruction in Creole language.
President of CAC, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, says a Creole dictionary is in the works to facilitate the preservation of this language.
We are now hoping that together with the Ministry of Education, we can build on further inclusion of the language, the Creole language in our schools, in our national curriculum, and give greater exposure and promotion to this beautiful language of ours. And in that way, we will be helping to further ensure that the language will be around for a very long time to come.
Kia Roberts cupped third place for the Penville Primary School, while second place was awarded to Peniel Innocent of the Hood Fordale Primary School. The competition was hosted on Wednesday, May 18 at the Alliance Français with the participation from 2 other primary schools, to include the Christian Union Primary and the Atkinson Primary School. Since the inception of the Quail Spelling Bee competition in 2010, the organizers have hosted the competition every year, with the exception of 2020, due to the surfacing of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The Paybush Primary School remains dominant, with 6 victories thus far. And that's all for the English version of the news. Julian Morris is next with Creole Highlights.
Bienvenue pour nouvelle en créole, non moi c'est Julian Morris. Premièrement, Premier ministre Roosevelt Skerrit voulait payer tout en région pour bailler un support dans les affaires produits manger. Premier ministre Skerrit a adressé une grande conférence agricole qui est organisée par le gouvernement pays Guyane. Premier ministre Skerrit baille support pour travail là qui est président pays Guyane Café pour supporter l'agriculture. Conférence là mettait attention à ce investissement dans les affaires pour produits manger à une manière qui peut supporter l'environnement là. Premier ministre Skerrit dit Dominique même ni habitants qui s'approchent assez manger pour Kawaii Blanc en général. M. Skerrit dit région ni assez habitants pour procurer assez manger pour tous ces pays. Il dit c'est pour ces pays tous venir ensemble pour empêcher tuer tout bitin qui can empêcher le système la marché qu'on est supposé. Plan là c'est pour qui tini assez manger pour tout le monde dans région. Grande consultation ça là en pays Guyane supposé bout samedi. Ministère pour les Affaires Commerce, Ian Douglas, ministère pour l'Agriculture, Fidel Grant, avec habitants comme Hillary Shillingford, avec Dillis Warrington, participé à la grande conférence ça là. D'autres nouvelles, ministère qui est responsable pour ressources renouvelables, ça c'est Renewable Energy, Vince Henderson. Il dit qu'il pour presque dès l'année pour finir bâtir un projet dans l'ODA pour servir chalet qui sorti en bâtiment pour produire énergie pour faciliter l'électricité. Ministre Henderson visité le projet ça la mercredi. Le ministère a dit que le projet a continué jusqu'au mois de mai l'année 2024. Il dit plan lancé pour servir énergie qui est trompé à bâtiment pour pousser devant le travail d'Omlek Café qui produit énergie. Depuis le gouvernement gagne d'Omlek administration a fait tout ça qui est possible pour faciliter l'électricité pour arriver sugar loaf à la Guantance. Ligne transmission qui est traversée hors l'Oda pour Foncolé avec hors Foncolé pour Guantance. Il dit ça c'est un grand investissement que le gouvernement a fait. Tout ça c'est pour le gouvernement pour tuer l'énergie qui est bon marché pour le pays. M. Henderson dit même si le projet qui prend un petit temps, mais il peut transformer l'industrie énergie en pays là. D'autres nouvelles, chef département division Kilty, Olson Matthew, dit content avec bien plaît pour voir jeunesse qui a parlé avec écrit langage créole là. M. Matthew a adressé une occasion là, les enfants de l'école ont participé dans la compétition pour épeler mots créole. Premier l'école Atkinson, Christian Union, Penville, St. Luke avec Woodford Hill participé à la compétition ça là. La Massa Broch, de l'école Saint-Luc, gagne première place. Peniel Innocent, ou bien Innocent, de l'école Woodford tapé deuxième position, avec Kia Roberts, de l'école Premier Penville tapé troisième place. Compétition celle-là a été organisée par le ministre de l'Éducation, Comité pour études créoles et puis division Kilty.
COVID-19, boutoueno, comment important à Kilty. Si pas pour musique et danser, nous te que fou à Dominique. Nous n'y pour chéber ça fort. Même quand langage là, nous pas voulons perdre ça. Montanolo Power Court, tradition qui est mort, comme si c'est hier au commencement. Pour ça a découragé les jeunes. Et si nous cherchons, nous pouvons quitter plus vite. Ça, c'est là nous pouvons y aller à compte. Ça nous n'y pour faire, nous, et ces gens qui viennent avant nous, c'est travailler ensemble pour changer nos vivants. Et nous pas à faire ça, c'est pas vrai. Pour ça, mon cas dit Creole Heartbeat, NCC, et tous les autres, bon merci pour travailler pour travailler nous. Mon cas espérer dictionnaire à mon kek, et ouais, moi, c'est pour ouais à toute l'école à Dominique. Mais pas dans mon cas espérer, mon cas servir dictionnaire à mon Jamal Fortune, parce que j'ai là, nous avons bâti. Nous tous savons langage là, c'est qu'à il y a longtemps. On écoute chansons pour expérience créole et vers auquel nous commençons avant. Mon cas répéter, solution c'est pour nous travailler ensemble. Pas pour nous seulement, ça plus beau passer nous, mais pour ça qui vient après nous.
Monsieur Matthew D, division Kilty, a apprécié tout le monde qui travaille pour chaîne langage créole là vivant.
Mon cas dit travail division Kilty, merci aussi pour travailler pour compétition ça là. Mais aujourd'hui, nous avons célébré ces jeunesse et encourager nous continuer à faire bon et nous tous qui préserver le langage créole là. Nous avons dit ces teachers merci aussi. Je souhaite toutes ces légions bonne chance. Qu'on dit Gregory Rabes, merci Bill, merci Lou, merci Shai.
Moun ka traversé à ce West Pays qui n'ayant primaire chimé bientôt. Ministre qui est responsable des affaires à Chimay, travail Chimay, annoncé qui Chimay qui est fermé pour week-end ça juste un temps plus tard, qui fait ça a ouvert. Ministre pour travail public construit un autre Chimay qui a traversé bord de la mer à un massacre pour moun passer pendant travail qu'a fait à ce grand Chimay. Chimay qui a passé bord de la mer à Mizi Chimay ça a mesuré 800 pieds. Peuple qui servi Chimay ça là pardon travail qu'a fait à ce grand Chimay qu'on nous dit plus bonheur. Ministre qui est responsable travail public qui est à ce peuple là pour supporter travail là et puis suivre toute direction qui département là mettez des voix publicité. Ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour aujourd'hui. Non moi c'est Julian Morris. Au revoir.
Thank you, Julian. And now your weather update. A high-pressure system will support a relatively dry and stable atmosphere across the area during the next 24 to 48 hours. Occasionally breezy conditions will be maintained. A Saharan dust plume is expected to be maintained over the island during the next 24 to 48 hours, resulting in a reduction in visibility. People with respiratory sensitivities should take the necessary precautions to avoid complications. Slight to moderate seas are anticipated during the next 24 to 48 hours, with waves peaking near 7 feet in eastern coastal waters. Mariners should exercise caution for periods of low visibility in haze. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I'm Aaliyah Martin. Thanks for watching. And remember,